You are not in hell, you are hell. The very ego is hell. Once the ego is not there, there's no hell. The ego creates structures around you which make you miserable. The ego functions like a wound, and everything starts hurting it. The I is hell. Self is hell. No self is heaven. Not to be is to be in heaven. To be is always to be in hell. Do I have to accept hell before I can find bliss? You have to understand hell, because if you don't understand hell, you will never be able to get out of it. And for understanding, acceptance is a must. You cannot understand anything if you go on denying it. That's what we have been doing. We go on disowning parts of our being. We go on insisting this is not me. Jean-Paul Sartre says the other is hell. When you deny something in yourself, you project it on the other. If you are angry, you are angry. If you are miserable, you are miserable. Nobody is making you that way. Nobody can make you angry unless you decide to become angry. Then everybody can be a help. Then everybody can be used as a screen, and you can project. Nobody can make you miserable unless you decide to be miserable. Then the whole world helps you to be miserable. The self is hell, not the other. The very idea that I'm separate from the world is hell. Separation is hell. Drop the ego and see suddenly. All misery disappears, all conflict disappears. You ask, do I have to accept hell before I can find bliss? Certainly, absolutely. You will have to accept and understand. In that acceptance and understanding, the hell will be absorbed back into the unity. Your conflict will dissolve, your tension will dissolve. You will become more of one piece, you will be more together. And when you are together, there is no idea of ego at all. Ego is a disease. When you are pulled apart, when you live in a split way, moving in many dimensions and directions that are simultaneously against each other, when you live in contradiction, then the ego arises. Have you ever felt your head without a headache? When the headache is there, you feel the head. If all headache disappears, the head disappears. You will never feel it is there. When you are ill, you feel the body. When you are healthy, you don't feel it. Perfect health is bodilessness. You don't feel the body at all. You can forget the body. There is nothing pulling you to remember it. A perfectly healthy person is one who is oblivious of the body. He does not remember that he has a body. A child is perfectly healthy. He has no body. The old man has a big body. The older one becomes, the more illness, disease, conflict settles in. Then the body is not functioning as it should function, is not in harmony, is not in accord. Then one feels the body more. If you understand this simple phenomenon, that a headache makes you aware of the head, illness makes you aware of the body, then it must be something like an illness in your soul that makes you aware of the self. Otherwise, a perfectly healthy soul will not have any self. That's what Gautam Buddha says. There is no self. Only no self exists. And that is the heavenly state. You are so healthy and so harmonious that there is no need to remember the self. But ordinarily, we go on cultivating the ego. On one hand, we go on trying not to be miserable, and on the other hand, we go on cultivating the ego. All our approaches are contradictory. Bring your whole mind to light, and you will see. All that is miserable starts dying, and all that is beautiful and blissful starts sprouting. In the light of consciousness, that which remains is good, and that which dies is bad. That's my definition of sin and virtue. Sin is that which cannot grow with awareness. It needs unawareness to grow. Unawareness is a must for it. Virtue is that which can grow with absolute awareness. There is no difficulty. It is not because you have stopped loving yourself that you fall into misery. It is that you have created a self that does not exist at all. So sometimes this unreal self suffers misery in loving others because love is not possible when it is based in unreality. And it is not just on one side. Two unrealities trying to love each other. Sooner or later, this arrangement is going to fail. When this arrangement fails, you fall back upon yourself. There is nowhere else to go. So you think, I had forgotten to love myself. In a way, it is a small relief. At least instead of two unrealities, now you have only one. But what will you accomplish by loving yourself? And how long can you manage to keep loving yourself? It is unreal. It won't allow you to look at it for a long time because that is dangerous. If you look into it for a long time, this so-called self will disappear. That will be a real freedom from misery. Love will remain neither addressed to someone else nor to yourself. Love will be unaddressed because there is nobody to address, and when love is there unaddressed, there is great bliss. But this unreal self won't allow you much time for that. Soon you will be falling in love with someone else again, because the unreal self needs the support of other unreality. So people fall in love and fall out of love and fall in love and fall out of love. And it is a strange phenomenon that they do it dozens of times and still they don't see the point. They are miserable when they're in love with someone else. They are miserable when they're alone and not in love, although a bit relieved for the moment. In India, when a person dies, people place the body on a stretcher and carry it on their shoulders to the funeral pyre. But they go on changing the position of it along the way. From the left shoulder, they will put the weight of the stretcher on the right, and after a few minutes they will again change and put it on the left. It feels like a relief when you shift it from the left shoulder onto the right. Nothing is being changed, the weight is still there, and it is resting on you, but the left shoulder feels a kind of relief. It is momentary because soon the right shoulder will start hurting, so you will have to change it again. And this is what your life is. You go on changing the other, thinking that perhaps this woman, this man, will bring you the paradise you have always been longing for. But everybody brings hell without fail. Nobody is to be condemned for it because they are doing exactly the same as you are doing. They are carrying an unreal self out of which nothing can grow. It cannot blossom. It is empty, decorated, but inside empty and hollow. So when you see somebody from far away, he or she is appealing. As you come closer, the appeal becomes less. When you meet, it is not a meeting but a clash. And suddenly you see the other person is empty, and you feel you have been deceived, cheated, because the other person has nothing that had been promised. The same is the situation of the other person regarding you. All promises fail, and you become a burden to each other, a misery to each other, a sadness to each other, destructive to each other. You separate. For a little while there is relief, but your inner unreality cannot leave you in this state for long. Soon you will be searching for another woman, another man, and you will get into the same trap. Only the faces are different. The inner reality is the same, empty. If you really want to get rid of misery and suffering, then you will have to understand you don't have a self. Then it will be not just a small relief, but a tremendous relief. And if you don't have a self, the need for the other disappears. It was the need of the unreal self to go on being nourished by the other. You don't need the other. And listen carefully. When you don't need the other, you can love, and that love will not bring misery. Going beyond needs, demands, desires, love becomes a very soft sharing, a great understanding. When you understand yourself, that very day you have understood the whole of humanity. Then nobody can make you miserable. You know that they are suffering from an unreal self, and they are throwing their misery on anybody who is close by. Your love will make you capable of helping the person you love to get rid of the self. I know of only one gift. Love can present you with only one thing, the realization that you are not, that yourself is just imaginary. This realization between two persons suddenly makes them one, because two nothings cannot be two. Two somethings will be two, but two nothings cannot be two. Two nothings start melting and merging. They are bound to become one. The things that are causing you misery must be giving you some pleasure too. Otherwise the question does not arise. If they were pure misery, you would have dropped them. But in life, nothing is pure. Everything is mixed with its opposite. Everything carries its opposite in its womb. What you call misery, analyze it, penetrate into it, and you will see that it gives you something you would like to have. Maybe it is not yet real. Maybe it is only a hope. Maybe it is only a promise for tomorrow, but you will cling to the misery. You will cling to the pain in the hope that tomorrow something that you have always desired and longed for is going to happen. You suffer misery in the hope of pleasure. If it is pure misery, it is impossible to cling to it. Just watch. Be more alert about your misery. For example, you are feeling jealous. It creates misery. But look around. There must be something positive in it. It also gives you some ego, some sense of your being separate from others, some sense of superiority. Your jealousy at least pretends to be love. If you don't feel jealous, you will think maybe you don't love anymore, and you are clinging to jealousy because you would like to cling to your love, at least your idea of love. If your woman or your man goes with somebody else and you don't feel jealous at all, you will immediately become concerned that you no longer love. Otherwise, for centuries you have been told that lovers are jealous. Jealousy has become an intrinsic part of your love. Without jealousy, your love dies. Only with jealousy can your so-called love live. If you want your love, you will have to accept your jealousy and the misery that is created by it. And your mind is very cunning and very clever in finding rationalizations. It will say it is natural to feel jealous, and it appears natural because everybody else is doing the same. Your mind will say it is natural to feel hurt when your lover leaves you because you have loved so much. How can you avoid the hurt, the wound, when your lover leaves you? In fact, you are enjoying your wound too, in a very subtle and unconscious way. Your wound is giving you an idea that you are a great lover, that you loved so much, that you loved so deeply. Your love was so profound, you are shattered because your lover has left you. Even if you are not shattered, you will pretend to be shattered. You will believe in your own lie. You will behave as if you are in great misery. You will cry and weep, and your tears may not be true at all. But just to console yourself that you are a great lover, you have to cry and weep. Just watch every kind of misery. Either it has some pleasure in it which you are not ready to lose, or it has some hope in it which goes on dangling in front of you like a carrot, and it looks so close, just by the corner, and you have traveled so long, and now the goal is so close, why drop it? You will find some rationalization in it, some hypocrisy in it,